When you start a new program or you set a health goal for yourself, it can be really helpful to anticipate challenges that you might face. If we know challenges are bound to happen and we can sometimes even anticipate them, can we get to a point where we prevent the stress from tipping us over the edge when we're in distress? Well, that's what I want to talk about in today's video. It's an emotional regulation strategy called preventing distress. Hey friends, I'm Christina. I'm a nutrition coach, and on this channel, I love to talk about lean eating skills and the psychology behind behavior change while keeping plenty of fun in life. So you're working towards some health goal, overcoming certain eating challenges like binge eating or emotional eating, and you experience some kind of personal distress. It's times like these that can throw us off course. Sometimes we don't know what to do about it, or we prioritize tending to others as more important than tending to ourselves. Then that distress builds and builds as we neglect taking care of ourselves or even think to check in, and for some, it can lead to a binge or overeating episode. Food can be our go-to when we're feeling distress, but if we could avoid the stress altogether, maybe preventing distress means preventing overeating or preventing a binge. Could that be worth exploring more? You may know that helping overcome emotional and binge eating is often not so much about the food and more closely related to learning some of these helpful emotional regulation strategies. Some of these are more like in the moment things like, how can I do this? We might practicing delaying and distracting ourselves with something else in order to take our mind off of food. Or we may respond to thoughts or urges with our reasons for change. But some of my favorite emotional regulation techniques are those that are more preventative. I think these are really key to keep in our tool belt. This is a topic near and dear to my heart because I've been working through a lot of these strategies in my own life. So first of all, what are some things that might be a cause of distress in our own lives? Let's talk about just a couple here. Sometimes it's logistics. I'm the type of person who learned the hard way too many times that just because you know how long it takes to drive somewhere, that doesn't account for all the other variables of life like traffic, weather, or how long it takes to walk from the car to the building, and if you have children, if they even feel like wearing a jacket or shoes, or if it's just going to be a battle getting loaded into the car in the first place. I have suffered the embarrassment of poor logistical planning and the classic thinking of, oh, I have time to do this one last thing before I leave. It only takes 10 minutes to get there. But if you don't leave yourself enough time to get from A to B, you're going to be more distressed because you're going to be rushing to be on time or you'll be late. I've been there so many times. So what are some solutions to these logistical forms of stress? Sometimes it's simple things like putting your clothes out the night before, or setting a time to leave alarm, leaving enough time not just to drive the long way there, but also like how long does it take for you to walk out of your car to get into the building, right? These are all things that can make your life less difficult. And if you're like me, I've been trying to learn from the people in my life who practice this concept, like if you're not 15 minutes early, then you're late. It's a work in progress in my life. Leaving yourself margin and being early can prevent distress. And you can always bring a book or do a quick meditation or deep breathing session in your car while you wait if you're early. Sometimes preventing distress looks like not overcommitting. In this day and age, when we're not in a lockdown, there are more opportunities than ever to connect with others socially, or volunteer somewhere, or be a part of some religious community. Not to mention your work deadlines, your family obligations, and all of those things. If you are someone who struggles with saying no to things and it causes you distress, consider that saying no can be a form of self-care and not backing yourself into a corner. When you feel like you have something you really don't want to do, take a step back, zoom out, and consider saying no. Sometimes just knowing we have the option to say no can restore order for us mentally when we don't have the time or energy. This might look like not being afraid to change your plans. If you overcommit or something changes, you can call people and cancel. Did you know that? I didn't until like a couple of years ago, unless there was some kind of emergency. I consider myself a recovering people pleaser, so this one is difficult for me. I hate letting people down, but give yourself the freedom to change plans. It's It's not the end of the world. It's okay, and people will understand. Sometimes we just stress over decision fatigue, especially if you're a parent or taking care of a loved one who is sick, or you just have other really important things that you're making decisions about. I've been listening to some podcasts on minimalism and productivity, and a lot of them talk about streamlining certain decisions that carry less weight in our lives. Some examples they talk about are streamlining what you wear by creating a capsule wardrobe, which is why you'll see me wearing a lot of black because it just takes the guesswork out of it. You can streamline what to eat by getting a meal prep service so you don't have to think about what to eat or cook all the time. That way, when it comes to heavier decisions, you can have more mental capacity to think them through. Personally, this really appeals to me because I've struggled with self-doubt about my decisions in the past, always wondering, did I make the right choice there? I was speaking with someone about this just the other day, and they said that sometimes the best thing to do is just make a quick, decisive action, knowing that maybe this won't be the right decision, but really committing to it and just seeing what happens. That's how we learn. This is definitely something I can work on because sometimes I just get sucked into that paralysis of analysis. Sometimes preventing distress can be communicating how we feel to people in our lives, or loved ones, or bosses, or that stranger that made a rude comment to you. Maybe it's not that big of a deal, but I'm here to tell you that your feelings matter enough to bring them up. Do you believe that? Sometimes we can confuse being agreeable with not needing to communicate our feelings at all. However, when we choose not to communicate how we feel, things stack up over time, which can lead to distress, maybe cause us to overeat or binge, when it all could have just been prevented if we communicated how we felt about something. If you don't have someone with whom you can share, consider talking to a coach. That's what we are here for. And of course, I'm a huge fan of therapy and have greatly benefited from that just to sort out my feelings and make sense of life sometimes. I think we have all lived enough life to know that sometimes it can be hard or uncomfortable. But just because something is difficult, that doesn't mean it's wrong. We can accept and even appreciate difficult things by reminding ourselves that we have options. I love what I heard Georgie Fear say in one of her podcast episodes, Breaking Up with Binge Eating. Difficulty isn't a sign of anything wrong. It's just a sign that you're alive, and it's a sign that you're doing meaningful things with your life. We aren't breaking or crumbling or dying when we're unhappy or just not comfortable. You can understand and see yourself as a strong person who's gaining endurance. You're moving through resistance without quitting. That's a big switch from grumbling inside, from how hard this is, or how unfair, or how I'm too tired and I just need more help. Isn't that a beautiful way to see it? I would love to know if any of this resonates with you. How else might you prevent distress for yourself? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch this, and I will see you next time.